That now takes us to the second ordinance that we have before us tonight, which is actually on the budget, and I turn it over to our village attorney, Mr. Hearn.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance 2011-05. An ordinance of the Village Commission of the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, adopting a budget for fiscal year 2011-2012 for the Village of Biscayne Park, Florida, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for an effective date. This as well is a public hearing. This is the first reading of the public hearing. This will be heard after the millage rate is heard next September 20th, I believe. September 20th at 6:30 p.m. And it's open to the public. This is first reading.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney, and I will open it to the public for comment in just one moment. I know we have a meeting right after this starting at 7:30, and I would ask that we post on the door a message saying that the meeting that is currently occurring is the first public hearing on the budget, so that people as they arrive for the regular meeting don't think that they're late in arriving, if we could. Thank you, Mr. Thornell. So at that, we will open up ordinance number 2011-5, adopting a budget for fiscal year 2011-12 for public comment. Anyone from the public who cares to address the commission on this ordinance, please step to the podium, identify yourself by name and address, and your comments will be welcome. Okay, that closes public comment for this ordinance, and I will ask for a motion to move this ordinance in for discussion.
I make a motion to approve.
Motion to approve ordinance 2011-5 by Vice Mayor Anderson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Seconded by Commissioner Childress. And now we are open for commission comments. As we start this, understanding that we have until 7:30 when our second meeting, our regular commission meeting begins, I'm going to ask for a subsidiary motion that we call a vote on this ordinance at 7:25.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
And all in favor of calling the vote at 7:25?
We get to discuss motions?
As a procedural issue. We can burn 15 minutes discussing this and leave even less time to discuss the actual meat of the budget, if that's what you wish.
It's not what I wish, but it's what's going to have to happen. The rule is you make a motion, you have a second, and you discuss it.
I'm going to ask our attorney to weigh in on this for just a procedural, how we operate at the meetings. Mr. Hearn?
As we've heard a lot here, we operate under Robert's rules. Under Robert's rules in the Village of Biscayne Park, like many cities and villages, the mayor runs the meetings. She's the chief parliamentary. There are some cities that have passed ordinances, some that have been considered here, which actually will outline in further detail some of the time limits, some of the rights that elected officials have. We have not done that. Under Robert's rules, the mayor makes rulings, and if someone disagrees with that ruling, the process is a motion to appeal. It can be made. It's normally debatable unless it involves certain items such as limits of speaking, transgressions of speaking, and the actual hearing of the agenda in the order of the agenda, or something discussing the way the agenda is going to move forward. Otherwise, it's debatable. So if you've made a ruling on that, then the proper procedure, if you're deferring to me at least, or asking my opinion, is that is under Robert's rules, would be a transgression in speaking, and a motion to appeal can be made, a second can be made, a vote can be made. Either that passes, in which case then your ruling is overruled, or it doesn't pass, in which case your ruling stands.
Can I clarify something? You're saying that under Robert's rules, never mind anything else, it's whatever the chair says?
Absolutely not. I'm saying under Robert's rules, the chair runs the meeting.
And if Robert's rules says there's a motion, a second, and discussion, the mayor can override that?
The mayor is not out of order, and her decisions are not out of order as the chief parliamentary unless this commission finds it out of order. That is black letter Robert's rules.
Right. Listen.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. So we have a motion to call a vote on this ordinance at 7:25.
Motion to appeal.
And it was seconded by Commissioner Childress.
Motion to appeal, Mayor.
I guess we have a subsidiary motion to appeal my ruling on no debate for the motion to call the vote.
That takes
All those in
precedent.
favor of
Well,
appealing.
You need a
Need
second.
a second,
Okay,
Mayor?
well, I would need a second on Commissioner Cooper's appeal of my ruling.
Of course I'll second it.
Okay, we have a first and a second to appeal my ruling, and now all those in favor
Discussion?
of appealing, this is a non-debatable motion. All those in favor of appealing the ruling of the chair signify by aye.
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 Those opposed of appealing the ruling, nay.
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 The appeal fails. Can we now take a vote on the motion to call the vote for this ordinance at 7:25 this evening? All those in favor signify by aye.
Aye.
Any against?
Nay.
Nay.
Motion carries 3-2. Now we shall open it for the discussion of the budget, and what we will do in the 15 minutes that we have left for this meeting before we call the vote is I'm going to ask each commissioner to address his comments and questions to staff. Staff will take down those comments and questions and come back with answers if it is expedient to do it tonight. Otherwise, they will come back and with answers at or before the second reading. And since we have 5 commissioners and 15 minutes, let's start with 3 minutes apiece and see where we go before we call the vote.
I'll go first.
Commissioner Bernard.
First off, to say that we're going to limit speech to 15 minutes for a $2 million budget that changed substantially since the last draft is ludicrous. And I cannot wait for everybody to know what this commission has done. Second of all, and with 3 minutes, you can't do anything, but I will say this. This village has not had our audit. This village sent a message out that said it's okay that we don't have our audit because Miami Shores took 18 months to do theirs and they just finished their last year. And I called the Miami Shores and they said, yeah, it took us 18 months. We had an approval for an extension from the Florida Legislature Committee because there was an ongoing investigation. So the idea that we would send out an email that said it's okay if we're late because Miami Shores was late is just plain wrong. Secondly, there was an email from our manager that was back in March that said, we're ready to go with our audit. It says, Michael, the finance director, and I met with our auditors this Tuesday and we're ready to go. That was in March. And the answer to why it took 6 months to get started was unacceptable. And if the other commissioners don't say anything, I'll assume that it's acceptable to them. Next thing, we've got the worksheets that the department heads did. I asked the manager for it, I got it. I'd like to ask if the other commissioners saw those worksheets. Was it sent just to me or to the entire commission?
Continue with your comments.
I'd like to get an answer. It's a yes or no.
Continue with your comments, sir.
Okay, well, so we're not looking for data, we're not looking for truth. Mr. Leach sent an entire thing about truth in government, about how there were massive amounts of money in sanitation fund that got transferred over to the general fund. I'd like to ask what that means, but obviously in 3 minutes that's not going to happen. We've got a massive contingency. We've got 2 weeks left in the year. According to this budget, we haven't touched a penny of it, and yet $45,000 is projected to happen. I'd like to know how that happens too. We've got $65,000 in police overtime this year, and we're scheduled to put 20 in for the proposed year. Every year we've come in low. Every year I've said it's not enough. Every year it's over. Every year it's a problem. And you want to ignore it. We don't have an audit, so we do not know what money we've spent last year. We haven't reconciled for 8 months. The year-to-dates in this budget is April, and our finance director has said, we don't even know if that's right because it hasn't been reconciled. We have got no historical data. We've got no understanding of our reserves because the cash balances, you keep looking at that clock, Mayor, because that's what's important. We got no understanding of what do we have for our reserves because the cash balances haven't been stated. And if you look in here, you'll say, we don't know.
Commissioner
Yes?
Bernard, I am looking at the clock because every commissioner is allowed to make comments.
Well, if every
and I need
commissioner-
to allot time for every commissioner to make the comments.
If
you have
every
one,
commissioner-
you have expired your time, but I will allow you 1 more minute.
I will finish this off. If every commissioner voted to say, let's limit our discussion to 15 minutes, then they don't deserve to speak. Because there's a whole lot of data in here and a whole lot of information. There's no listing of all the changes that have happened. We got this thing late Friday night. It wasn't available on the web until Saturday or Sunday. Our residents don't even know what's in this budget, and you're giving them 15 minutes to understand it. And I don't know if there's anything been more disgraceful by this commission. And 3 minutes are up.
Thank you. Any other comments from the commission on the budget?